spicy salmon roll. Oh no, it's gone. It's lobster ceviche. I think that's lobster tibico. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. Wow.
And then it's like fried shrimp in the middle, and then avocado, white rice. White rice.
Rice
That was my nickname in high school. I started modeling when I was 14 in Boston. I loved my agency in Boston. I did mostly knitwear. I know. I was a big deal. I was a big deal. I didn't get my big break until my first job with... And
we have to talk about the casting.
Oh my god, so you were with me. So Phoebe was with me. There's like a week-long prep period beforehand. And we knew about the casting like 3 weeks before we even went, which never happens. It's always like you find out the day of. But we knew about this 3 weeks in advance. Before that, I had actually been sent home because clients were saying I was too big. When I was like 16, when I had signed with the first casting was the first instance of, okay, you need to lose X amount of weight before this casting. I was a sophomore in high school. I restricted my diet to 1,200 calories a day, exercised for 45 minutes every day. It was a very obsessive state of mind of like, thank you so much. On that note, it was a very obsessive state of mind of this needs to be accomplished or I'll fail. And that's the way I saw it. So, oh, thank you. Yeah. I lost 7 pounds and I was already underweight. I was 5'10" and like 125 pounds. And I went down to like 115. The response from the agency was so positive. You know, I felt like I had accomplished this like crazy thing. Like I was finally in the place I needed to be. We went to the casting. Thank God you were with me, because that's when we had known each other before, but that's when we became like tight. The casting director liked me, and I flew back and forth. Oh my God, probably 5 times, back and forth before they actually booked me for the show. And from that day on, everything was different. I was still in high school, but I was never there. I graduated, luckily. But I was working, you know, full time. It was runway and editorials. So the expectation for runway models is that you're a 32-inch bust, a 24-inch waist, and a 34-inch hip. People watching this who aren't in the industry are probably like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, why? Like, people don't even know where they would measure themselves. But the amount of times that I have measured myself, I couldn't probably count on 1,000 hands. Like, you know, it's always been that way. But I've also never been those measurements. And you've had similar, you know, we're tall, you know.
Wider set hips.
Yeah, we're American.
We're American.
My mom always traveled with me. She never judged me, and it was important to have her around. And my first big breakdown with my weight was I had just turned 17, and so I had done a couple seasons of runway. I had mainly worked with, so I was exclusive with them, which means that legally you're under contract and you can only work with the brand you're under contract with. I had been exclusive with them for like 6 months. And me and my mom were in Milan for Fashion Week, and I was still under contract. And I went to the fitting, and this, like, I still remember clear as day. Everything fit, but it wasn't loose. But it fit me, like how it should. But they didn't have to pin anything. And some stuff was said in Italian. I don't speak Italian, so I don't know. That's what it sounded like. Just so you guys know. And I went home, me and my mom got gelato and, like, you know, went exploring, whatever. Then we were sitting in the hotel room that night, and we got an email from the production of the show. And basically it said that I gained a centimeter in my hips, a literal centimeter. And because of this, I wouldn't be paid the rate that I was promised, and I wouldn't be walking the show exclusively anymore, and that I would have to walk the show as a normal runway model.
Oh no, you're normal now.
And so I got demoted. I hate to like spit numbers out or say how much you make, but this was an 18 grand difference, and we would have to pay for the hotel they put us in.
Which was for the hotel?
Which was a 5-star hotel. I was screaming, crying, and luckily my mom was with me because I was like, I don't know what I did wrong. Like, I'm the same as I was before. Like, I don't know what happened. And I had to go to work the next day, and I was with all the exclusive models. So there's 10 of us who are like exclusive, and we had to like run through the like practice for the show that all the models, there was like 100 models in total, were gonna walk through. So it was just the 10 of us, and I remember them picking on me the whole day. From that point on, it was always on my mind. There wasn't a day that didn't go by that I wasn't thinking about what I looked like. I was a kid. Like, I will say that there have been a lot of people who are nice to me, but no one ever stood up for me. No one ever stood up for me. And I should have stood up for myself, and I wish I could go back and do that. But you can't go back, you know? So you can only like focus on moving forward what you're gonna do. It was always, you need to lose 5-10 more pounds. Always.
Is it pounds translate to where you're losing weight?
I know. It was always that. So I started to starve myself. Maybe I'll try this shit.
Those look cute. What is it? Yosairo?
I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna try it.
Dude.
But oh, it matches me. There would be periods of time where I would be prepping for Fashion Week. I did Fashion Week. I've done the full circuit, so New York, Milan, Paris, and London, probably 8 or 9 times within the span of 3 years.
And for those that don't know what that means, that's a fucking lot of fashion.
Yeah. I think I've walked 50 shows. And it's every 6 months there's a season. So a season is like a month long when you go to all 4 places. So Fashion Week is actually Fashion Month.
Yeah.
And I would take like a month before and prep and starve myself, and then go to all the places. And then I would come back and I would gain all the weight back. And then it was always like that. Like, it was always that cycle. And the whole time I knew what I was doing was wrong. Like, I recognized that. I knew that it was wrong because I'd always been told that stuff like that was wrong. They teach you that. And I knew that the people who were doing it to me knew it was wrong too. It didn't make me want to stop doing it because the way I looked when I did do it, I had so much success and I was being praised. When I looked that way, that was the only time that I was recognized as like beautiful. Like, that's the only time I felt beautiful. You know, in those crucial development years when you're 13, I'm sure you know, like 13 to like now even. My parents always were like, oh, like people were always like, you're so pretty, like you're a model. I did a Gucci campaign, like I walked Chanel, like you would think that I would have this crazy amount of confidence.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any. Like, I felt like shit. And I still have a really hard time believing that people find me, like, to be a beautiful person. Whether it's for, like, my personality or how I am outside. Like, I find that extremely hard to believe. And it was because I was put down for all these years, you know?
You weren't good enough.
Yeah, I was never good enough. There was always something that needed to be changed. Realizing that, like, I would never please these people. Like, there was never going to be a point, like, they would be like, okay, you're good now. Yeah.
You did what we wanted you to do.
Yeah. There's always something that they want to see different. There was a point last year where I gone to London, prepared for London Fashion Week. Halfway through, I was like, I can't do this. Like, halfway through Fashion Week, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I was like depressed.
Yeah.
I hated it so much. And I was like, please just send me to Paris. So I go to Paris, and when I get to Paris, they tell me that I'm too big. And this is when shit really hits the fan, because I would weigh myself like 3 times a day. And I'd be like, oh, it's 3 o'clock and I gained 2 pounds. And like, any logical person knows your weight fluctuates throughout the day. I weighed 125 pounds, and they were saying I was fat. And they got me a personal trainer who I paid $50 a day for, right? And he had me doing, you know how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does CrossFit?
Stop.
I was working out with, I fuck you not, people who look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I was working out with like 6 people, and I was doing like the ropes. I was like doing push-ups.
Do the ropes.
First off, I haven't done a push-up ever in my life. I still can't do a push-up. I literally have never done a push-up in my lifetime, and I will say I can't. They sent me like a casting for Nike once. They were like, just have to be able to do push-up, and I was like, I can't go to this. And they're like, why? I was like, I can't do a push-up, and if they ask, it's gonna be embarrassing. I'm fucking working out with this guy who's also telling me that I should only be eating vegetable broth, that I shouldn't be eating any protein, just plain vegetable broth. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And he was like, well, that's the only way that, because the agency told me, they measured me Monday, they were gonna measure me again Thursday.
That's 3 days.
And they were like, well, we're gonna just hope you lose an inch. An inch, by the way, is equal to like 5 pounds. So this was 3 days. And this guy was like, if you want to see the results you need to see, then you're gonna have to just have vegetable broth for the next 2 days. I was on halfway through day 3, and he had me doing this side plank, which I can't do on a good day. Okay? I have no body strength. Maybe I shouldn't put that out there. I'm super strong.
I'm super strong. Both with Nike. Bones.
He had me doing this side plank, and I started shaking. And I like fell, and I started crying because I was like, I am exhausted. When I wasn't working out with him, I was laying in my bed in Paris, like not going out and seeing anything. I was laying in my bed sleeping because I was literally so exhausted from just not eating. And he just said, get back up. This is what you signed up for. Which, first off, is way too intense. Like, I'm like, is this a fucking, like, thriller movie? Like, what are you talking about? Get up. This is what you signed up for. I'm like, where did I sign? Like, what? So I had a mental breakdown. Like, I really lost it. I don't know what this is. We're about to find out. There's something squishy in there.
I don't know how to feel.
I don't know how to feel about that, but yeah.
Don't consume it.
Yeah, I mean. I still don't know what it is.
It's happening though. Whatever it is, it's happening.
I went home because I lost it, and I really lost it. Like, I don't know. I've never experienced anything like that. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I am out of gas. I had been starving myself for 3-4 years at that point. I had been doing everything anyone ever told me. I was complacent. I thought that I was being good and I was being easy to work with, but I was being complacent. And there's a big difference, and I didn't realize that until very recently. I went home and I was like, I'm gonna go to college because I can't do this anymore. The Paris agency dropped me when I got home. I was at peace with it. Like, I was at peace with it being over. I went to college for 6 months, hated it. Love some of the people I met, but college isn't for me. I mean, online school maybe, but once you've experienced something like this,
it's really hard to go back.
It's really hard to go back to normal. Especially, I hadn't really been in school since I was like 15, because I was always gone. I dropped out after a semester. And I decided I was going to go back to modeling, but instead of high fashion, I was going to do commercial. But something was still messed up in my head that made me think that I had to lose a lot of weight or that I wasn't good enough. So instead of just going as I was, I starve myself. It's like messed up. And I would tell people about my experiences before, saying like it was really a fucked up situation, but I was starving myself. So it's like this weird thing of like, you literally know what you're doing is wrong, but you feel like you're obligated to do it. I met with agencies. I ended up signing with Muse, and I moved to New York. And I was still starving myself, but my body decided it didn't want to cooperate anymore, and it wasn't as easy as it had been before. And that was because I had like shot my metabolism, and I had shot like, I don't know if that's true, like maybe I can rebuild it, but like I had really put my body through it. Like I had really like always eating a shit ton, eating nothing, eating a shit ton, eating nothing, and there was never a happy medium. And when I tried to lose weight again to start working with Muse, my body just was fighting me, and I was getting so frustrated, and I was so angry, and I tried starving myself, I tried everything, but the measurements just weren't changing. And then the owner of Muse actually sat down with me and said, you know, we're not your last agency, and we know that you're gonna work no matter what your size is. We just have to know what it's going to be. Whether it's this or something smaller or something bigger, we just have to know what you are so that we can send you to the right clients. And it was the first time that anyone's ever said that it was okay to just be who I was. Like, it was legitimately the first time anyone in the fashion industry has said, you are fine. We just need to know that this is who you are. No one had ever done that. And from that point on, I started working with Muse. I'm working with the Curve board, which I love.
It's just such a good board.
Oh my God. And I don't think they ever expected me to be on the Curve board, obviously, but it was so nice that they did that. They've just been great working with me, but I'm dealing with a lot of personal stuff now of like, I never acknowledged that these past 3 years, 4 years, I've had an eating disorder. I never like admitted that. And I recently wrote like a blog post or whatever you want to say. Thank you. But it felt like a little bit of the weight had been lifted off because I was writing all of it down. And I had tried to write it down before, but obviously I couldn't because there was no truth. This time I wrote it and it felt like I could breathe. Like it felt like, okay, I just talked about my problems with food and the way the fashion industry, I'm not a victim, but like the way the fashion industry helped create them, and how a lot of models still lie about what they're eating, how much they're eating, their eating habits, to kind of like present this sort of fake face to the world. I'm owning up to the shit, but looking back, like right now, I have a lot of feelings. I feel bad because I feel like everyone's my therapist because I like I've never talked about it, and it's like unloading. I told you the other night, Phoebe came over for Easter, and the short conversation we had, I'm like, it feels like I'm throwing up, like, which is gross. Like,
No, that's a great way to put it. Like,
but like, it feels like I'm throwing up because I've held all this stuff in for so long, and like, it's been just like sitting and like manifesting in this horrible, horrible way, and now I'm talking about it, and it's the only way that I feel like this sense of relief, because I've been angry, like, and I'm still angry. I'm angry at all the people who, I don't want to say did it to me, because who participated in like really like manipulating me. I was so young and like molding my mind in a way where I was taught to hate myself. Like I was really taught to hate myself. And honestly, as much as I'm trying now to learn to like myself, I have no idea how to do that. Like I have no idea how to even go about that. You know, I'm angry. Like I'm really angry, and I'm angry at the models who are still, and they're protecting themselves, so I feel bad at being angry for them, but I'm mad at them too because it's making the fashion industry stay in the same place that it's always been in, of we're just naturally beautiful and we're naturally this way, and it's just not the truth. For some girls it is, but there are very few girls that it's legitimately like that. I was living in this crazy like fantasy world that everything was fine and that I was perfectly fine and that I was better than everyone else because I was able to not eat for long periods of time. What a fucking crazy way to think. Like, what is that? But I was angry at people like you who were able to talk about the fashion industry the way that you were and be completely honest and like feel comfortable being honest. And I didn't realize that that's why I was angry. The amount of times that I've sat down for food with other models and I know that that's the only thing they've eaten that day, and we just don't talk about it. Or we do talk about it. I've had conversations about eating disorders with other models, and they're not talking about like eating disorders. It's like talking about the weather. Yeah, like I make myself throw up. Like literally like that. Like just like that. And there's never any judgment, which is good, but there's also never any like, that's not normal. There's a support for it because it's like, well, we all just have to do it. And that's not how it is anymore. It's not. Because I think the fashion industry is starting to change. I'm just an angry person right now. And I'm trying to let some of that go. Now, only in the past few days, my normal relationship with food has started to come back. Where I'm eating until I'm full.
It's good.
Because I've restricted myself. I've restricted and then, eaten too much and restricted and binged ate. It's gone on for so long that once I met with an agency and they were like, you're okay. Like, you can stop doing that. It was so weird that I ate everything. I hadn't had pizza. I had pizza yesterday. I had not had pizza in probably 2 years. I didn't eat bread for like 3 years. If there was croutons on my salad, like by Chloe's, Kale Caesar has croutons on it, I would be like, I'm not eating this. This has croutons. Like, that's fucking crazy. Imagine the guy working at By Chloe. I'm in a good place because I know there aren't any repercussions for what I'm doing. Like, I'll never be... I know in my morals and the thing is, too, when you share shit like that, when you share shit about eating disorders, when we do stuff like this, me and you, vulnerability, you can never go back because people know. People know now. Why, like, if you lose 30 pounds, people know what's up.
Yeah.
Like, they know because you owned up to that shit. It's breaking the cycle. And that's, like, the first step is just, like, breaking the cycle of horrible things that have been happening. You can't continue in this cycle if you say out loud in public, I'm going to break this cycle, and it was a horrible thing that happened, and you make it past tense. Like, you can't go back because people will see that, and like that's something that I think has helped me. It's different for everyone. Sometimes it's a very personal thing for people and they don't feel like that, like they want to share it with people. I thought it was important because I've been in like magazines, I've been in advertisements. I was lying, I feel like, about who I was and how I was doing what I was doing for a long time. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that people understood that a lot of that wasn't true. I feel so guilty, like, for selling this false idea to everyone that I've known for so long, to, like, I never talked about it. I was like, I need to lose weight. Like, I never was like, because I knew it was wrong. Like, I'm not trying to shame anyone with an eating disorder either, because I understand how hard it is to deal with it. Like, it feels like you're doing something right, even though you know that it's not. I completely understand, because, I've had an eating disorder, but I will tell you, once you're starting to recover from it, you will never understand how you lived the way you did before. I will say that I'm lucky enough to like be able to eat now, and I still feel guilt sometimes when I eat, but I'm in a place where I can push that back and be like, that's not right. Like, that's not a right feeling to have. And I think the thing that's helped me most is that I think of myself when I was like 13, 14. And I think of how disappointed she would be in me if she was with me during the times that I was in Paris or I was in London and I wasn't eating. Like, I think of the times that, like, I was laying in bed, not going sightseeing, not enjoying these amazing places because I didn't want to be in a situation where I had to eat, you know? Like, I didn't want to be in a social situation where people would expect me to eat. I'm facing a lot right now, like, owning up to a lot of shit I've done. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I'm a mess, but I'm working on it.
I'm a mess, but I'm working on it. That might be the title. That might be it. That's kind of awesome.
That's gonna be my comedy stand-up special.
Of love, I never felt this way. Of in love, of
All right, let's get ice cream.
Let's get it.
somebody. I am. I just want content, comfort. I don't need somebody.